Welcome to today's edition of Mental Health Matters. Today, we're going to be talking about love and marriage. I have Tanya and Andrea Williams on the show today, and they're going to give us a little insight about what it is to be married with children. Get you something to drink and get you a snack and come on back. Good morning, Andrea and Tanya. How are you two doing today?
We're good. Thank
Doing
you.
good. Doing good. How
Yes.
are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm a little bit tired. I stayed up kind of late last night, but I'm here, as you can see.
Awesome. Yeah. Same here, man. Yeah, but we're here. We're excited, ready to go.
For sure. So why don't we just start off with you guys introducing yourselves, and we'll just go from there.
You go first.
Okay, cool. Well, my name is Andre Williams, and obviously my wife, here with my wife. And you know, we've been married for, gosh, what is it, 11 years now? 10 years. 10 years now. We had 3 beautiful children. And yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my name's Tanya, mother of 3. I'm really not sure. Married 10 years.
All right.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. Thank you both. So why don't I'm gonna ask you guys the first question. Tell me the story of how you two first met.
Okay, I'll start. So we first met in at American River College here in Sacramento, and it was a funny story because we had the same math class, but I had it in the morning, she had it in the afternoon. So essentially, as I was leaving, she was coming in. And I remember seeing her, and I was like, man, that girl is beautiful, right? And so, and that's just kind of how it started. And then, I ended up, introducing myself to her one day. We started talking, and one thing led to another. So that was the genesis of how it all began.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Tanya. So I'm gonna ask you, what were your thoughts when you first saw Andre when he was introducing himself to you?
Gosh, I mean, I don't know if at that moment I didn't think any more than it was just someone saying hi, introducing themselves. I kind of went back to class, and
she wasn't worried
that was
about
that.
me.
Yeah, honestly, it was just kind of like, hi. Well, I think what he said was, hey, he was like, do you got a name? And I said, no, my mama didn't give me a name. And so he was like, oh, wow. And I said, no, my name is Tanya. And after that, there would just be more times that I would just see him more. Like one time I was in class and someone tapped on my shoulder, and I looked around and he was asking me for a pencil. And I'm like, what are you doing in this class? You're not even in this class. So he made efforts to be around,
yeah.
Yes, I love it. Tell me a little bit about you guys' first date. Who asked who out? And how was your first date? Where did you guys go? So let's talk a bit about that.
Okay, first date. I'm trying to think. So would that be when we went to play pool? I think that was our first date, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess you could say that.
Yeah. So I would say probably me. I'm the more spontaneous one, just kind of like spur of the moment, like, hey, you want to go do this, you want to go do that. So our first date, I think we were hanging out. I think we had got some food or something, and then it was like, hey, do you want to go? You want to go play some pool? You want to go to the Billards or whatever? And so yeah, we ended up going to a Hard Times billiards, playing some pool, and just hanging out. And I think even after that, I don't know if it's still there, but we went to like Nipple Records. I think was that same night, and then I think we went and bought some
I don't
CDs or
even
something.
know.
So it was
Yeah.
just real, just chill, laid back. That's kind of how we both are. So
Yeah.
So did the first date, did it go okay? Did you guys have a thought in your mind that, okay, I want to go back out with him, or I want to go back out with her, or it was just like, just the date?
It's so weird because thinking back, I don't think that I don't know if it was really like prefaced around being a date. I think we
Okay.
just ended up spending a lot of time together, like as friends, and we
yeah,
just did stuff. It wasn't even like, well, like, let's go out on a date or,
yeah,
I don't know. It's kind of weird,
it
but
is
thinking
weird.
back, it's like,
Yeah,
I don't know. It wasn't like a traditional date scene,
yeah.
if that makes
Well,
sense.
because like, and we can get more into it later, but we did kind of hit it off as friends, like almost immediately. Like we really connected like that. So she's right. It was more like hanging out as opposed to the whole traditional date thing.
So, because I hear a lot of married couples say that it's better to be friends first before you take that next step in marriage. Because when you're friends, you kind of learn a little bit more about each other, your likes, your dislikes. You kind of build that trust factor up, and if someone is going through something, then you kind of be there for them. Do you guys agree that it's better, just based off your experience, to become friends first before you take that next step?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you can bounce off of this piggyback off of it, but I think that was vital. With
Mhm.
everything. We are a blended marriage as
Yeah.
well. Because of our oldest daughter, I had out of wedlock with
Mhm.
her mom prior to meeting Tanya. So you got challenges around that. You got
Yeah.
the challenges of growing up because we met each
Yeah.
other when we were young, and so yeah, absolutely. I think that the fact that we were able to begin our relationship as friends, really, we can really lean on that in the bad times,
Yes.
in the good times, even,
Yeah.
right? Like, we always, even when things were at its worst, I feel like we could always circle back and kind of
Yes.
like reflect on our friendship and just remind each other, like,
Yeah.
we've always been friends. Like that was
Yeah.
number one.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on
No,
that?
I think you said that perfectly because, even prior to marriage, working full-time jobs, having kids, having responsibilities that we didn't have, you know what I mean? We were
We're best
best
friends.
friends,
Yeah.
so that is a good way to keep us grounded and reflect back on that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. When did you guys realize that your friendship was starting to gain momentum, with going into a relationship?
I think with the amount of time that we spent together, we were inseparable, so it was like, once you realize, like, man, I don't see myself without you, then yeah, that's kind of serious.
Yeah.
Our lives kind of revolved around each other. And one thing about Dre is that he always showed up for me,
Mhm.
no matter what that looked like or what I needed at that time. Like he always showed up. So that's
Yeah.
something that was always stood out to me.
Right. Yeah, nah, and I agree. I think again, it was just another one of those things, kind of like with the date thing,
Yeah.
right? It was like, I think what was the night? There was a night though that we did make it official where it was like I came over to your mom's house and we were hanging out on the front porch, and we kind of just decided, hey, let's make it official. Let's be boyfriend and girlfriend. But leading up to that, yeah, I agree with Tanya. It was just all the time we spent together. We were inseparable. We were just best friends.
Yeah.
Like I found myself hanging out with her more than even my own friends, leading up to that point.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yes.
it was just a cumulative of the time spent.
All right. So when you guys realized that you guys made it official, how long did it take for the both of you to realize, like, this is somebody that I feel like I can spend the rest of my life with, through marriage?
Right, right.
Marriage, the thought of marriage didn't come into play until we started, until we got into church.
Mm.
My family background, marriage isn't like, a strong
Yeah.
point. I would say it's nothing that I could look to someone and say, wow, I want a marriage like my mom or my grandma. So I don't even think marriage was ever a thought. We were just riding till the wheels fall off, whatever that looked like at that time. But no, marriage wasn't even, I don't even think a thought until we got into church.
Yeah. And and so I know for me personally, what I will say is leading up to us going to church, there were a lot of hardships.
Yeah.
Personally, it was like me going to jail and stuff like that, and so we were separated for during that time. But what stuck out to me is that Tanya still was involved with my oldest daughter. She would still pick her up. She would still take time for her to be with her, spend time with her, build that relationship, that way that whenever, I would call, I could talk to both of them at the same time and, all of that good stuff. So for me, leading up to going to church, once I got out of jail, it was just for me, I seen her as somebody that, would be there for me through thick and thin, my best friend, but not only that, someone who was loyal and just really, consistent. And I think that that's important because I think in life, we go through so many changes as people, right? And so what's important if you're going to be with somebody for a long period of time is someone that can endure those changes, that are willing to endure the hardships, the valley lows, not just the mountaintop highs, right? So yeah, that's, and then getting into church, leading to where Tanya was going. Yeah, we ended up, going into counseling, marriage counseling with our pastor and his wife. And and again, even that, it was kind of just, I don't know, it was like a mutual decision.
Yeah, there was no, it's funny, there was no proposal on the beach or romantic thing. We were just like, man, you know what? We both come from hard backgrounds and I think this is something that we just need to do. And it was I don't know if you could call it like a spirit-filled decision or whatever, but that's just kind of how our marriage started was, it was almost a spiritual decision.
Absolutely.
More so than I'm so in love with you, will you marry me? Even though we were in love and we did want to get married, it was more of like, man, I think this is what we need to do to fill our journey together, to make it right. And absolutely, that's just the beginning of that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Tanya, I want to pose this question to you. At the time when Andre was locked up and you were going to get his daughter, you didn't have any kids of your own at the time, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, man. First of all, I want to tell you, I really commend you for that, because to me that shows the great qualities that you have, not only as a woman, but a friend, as a partner, someone that's loyal. Because when you love somebody, you have to accept, not just families, your mother, father, if it's a blended family, whatever, and you did that. How was that like for you going to pick up you all's oldest daughter, knowing that Andre was incarcerated? Like, how was that for you?
You know, at the time, I didn't think anything of it. It just wasn't a big deal. It was, just something I felt like I had to do, for her well-being, and to make sure that her little life wasn't disrupted, and just try to keep a sense of normalcy for her. And then as well as just to give Andre a peace of mind that, your daughter will be okay while you're not here, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Mhm.
All right. So
Heart of gold.
Huh?
You got a
That's
heart
right.
of gold.
That's right. So when did you guys decide to actually get married? Like, tell me about that story. Who made the decision to bring that question up and to follow through with it?
I think it's so funny looking back. It's like, yeah, our lifestyles were just a little bit crazy. We really had no what's the word, like a
no
vision,
goal,
like
no vision.
something in front of you, like like any focus. We had nothing that we were reaching towards or going towards. So once we got into church, I think it just we looked at that as something that we wanted to do, wanted to experience. I don't know, jump in here.
I got you. Yeah. So I think absolutely. And so with that, after just some of the counseling sessions and things of that nature with our pastor, it kind of became like, just a discussion and a decision. We kind of just said, hey, I think that this is the best thing for us to do. It's something new that we never, either one of us even really had a model for marriage, right? Outside of my mom's parents, my grandma and grandfather, but even still then, it wasn't like the healthiest of marriages, right? And so just again, all of that together, we were just like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this for Aliana. That's our oldest daughter's name. Let's do this for Aliana. Let's do this for ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, we were best friends. We had spent all this time together. We had already been through the rigor. And, so it's like, you know what, let's just do this. If we're going to be together, which, that was the thought then, if we're going to be together, let's just do it. Go ahead and do it. And I think as far as the date and stuff, I think we just picked the date, if I remember, because you said it was cute. It would look cute on the invitations or something like that. You know what I mean? So that's what I remember. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that's funny.
So when you guys got married, when y'all made that transition before God, do either of you feel like was there something tangible that you felt, meaning that was there a difference in your guys' relationship, or was it kind of the same and you guys kind of grew more closer from there? And the reason why I'm gonna ask you that, because the Bible says that it talks about how when a man and a woman comes together, they become one. They are no longer one flesh, but they become, they're no longer two flesh, they become one. So, you guys went through the spiritual ceremony in front of the Lord and through the paths and stuff like that. But individual, did you guys feel like there was something spiritually tangible that happened that brought you guys close? And I'm speaking from a spiritual perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. All-Star, and you can jump in on this one. Yeah, absolutely. Because again, the ministry that we were a part of, there was a lot to do, right? To put our hands to the plow and to do at that time. And so I think even before we got married, we were doing some type of ministry, right? Whether it be ushering, the youth ministry, stuff like that. And so with that, like Tanya alluded to earlier, we didn't really have a focus prior to that, right? But God began to kind of give us a goal or give us something tangible, a path to travel down.
That's awesome.
And so I think that with that, we did become closer ultimately, because I think as individuals, I think we both decided within ourselves that, you know what, we're both going to pursue the Lord.
That's
Okay.
right.
Right. And so at that time, it was like, okay, yeah. And it's funny because like we didn't like have this discussion like, oh, oh, hey, do you feel closer?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel closer, that's fun. It was just, it just happened like that.
Yeah.
You
And,
know?
and what's kind of funny is that at that time, it's like we became the model
Yes.
that time
Yeah.
of something that we had no, I mean, honestly, looking back, we had no business getting married. I mean, I was
From the
19,
outside.
he just got out of jail. We had no jobs. We didn't finish school. Here we were, just two young people,
trying to
a
figure it
mess,
out.
had,
Yeah.
no family support. We
Mhm.
just had each other, no business getting married at
Yeah.
all. But somehow it worked and we did get married. We became a model in the church of what a young couple is supposed to look like.
Yes.
And, we just came together, in ministry and the word, we would pray
Yeah.
together.
That's awesome.
We would just try to just strip off all of the stuff that was just, on us from
the past.
And,
Yes.
and just try to grow together. So I think when the Bible does talk about like, the two becoming one,
Yes.
it is because, you are creating, a life together that's, fruitful in God's eyes and not what
The world says,
what the world says or what your idea is. I remember getting married. We couldn't afford rings. We just got the rings from the
downtown. From the county building.
I didn't even wear a dress. And, looking back, it's like, I wouldn't have it any other way because our marriage was never based off of things.
Yes.
It was based off of like, we want to make this commitment together. We want to make a commitment to God. And I think he's honored that in our marriage because materials come and go, money comes and goes, jobs come and go. But what is the root that you're standing on or growing on?
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. Well,
Yeah.
I love it, love it, love it. I'm getting excited now. Oh man. Man, that's really good. Really, really good. So how long did it take for you guys to have your first daughter together when you guys got married? 2 years, 3 years?
Oh man, that's a good question. We got married in 2012,
Mhm.
and then Amaya was born in 2013.
Almost 2 years because it was
Yes.
the beginning and that was the end.
Yeah.
So almost about 2 years.
Yeah.
Almost 2 years,
Yeah.
But in that time, and I'm gonna be transparent here. Hopefully you don't mind me sharing this, but
we experienced
some loss.
Mhm.
We had two miscarriages.
Yeah.
Leading up to that
Yeah.
point. So again, Valley, mountaintop high, getting married, but then, experiencing the losses, then we went right back, into the trials and tribulations where our marriage was being tested. We were being tested as individuals.
Yeah.
And, that was really hard. But then and it's crazy to say, but even when we found out she was pregnant again with our middle daughter, Amaya, there was a little bit of fear, and it wasn't like just a happiness right away like that, because the experience we had in the past, it was a little strange. I can't really, it's hard to explain, but when you experience loss like that with being with child and stuff like that, miscarrying, it does something to you, so there was a little bit of fear involved there as well. So I'm sure she probably feels similar, or just the unknown.
Mhm.
Yeah. I was around well, I knew Andre for the birth of your last child.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we were I was a supervisor then,
Yeah.
and I approved this time off. No.
That's right. That's right.
But no, when I did find out, because I didn't know a lot about him at the time, and when I found out he was married and he used to have another baby, I was just like, oh, really? Because when I didn't know too much about him, but I just knew he was somebody that worked under me, and I'm like, he's a young guy in my eyes. And so
Mhm.
as I found out more about him and more about he was married, his kids, I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. So yeah. So now the kids they are here. Tell me how, and I want to direct this question specific to Tanya. How did you having kids of your own started to affect your marriage in a good or positive way? Because now it was just the both of you guys. You come and go as you please, but now you got this precious baby involved that you guys both have to oversee and nourish and take care of and love. How was that for you, Tanya?
You know what? For me, it was a one of the best parts, of my life. And I think that, man, it kind of your focus. Then here's the word focus again, because now you have something new to focus on
Yeah.
with your child, and growing together, and different parenting styles, and
Yes.
trying to get through those challenges together, but ultimately trying to agree upon, like, what's our end game here,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then work on that together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what I will say, I want to take a time to give Tanya her flowers because she was really excited. And I think that so she always wanted to be in early childhood education, right? She wanted to be an educator of young people and stuff like that. And so I think having and raising children of her own gave her that opportunity to do that, and she really threw herself at that. And I think, and again, we were just so good at this. Like, I mean,
Nice.
I don't know, we always just were on the same page. Like for a majority, there were seasons obviously where we didn't see eye to eye different things, but
Yeah.
just with raising children, I think that we value the same things. We had similar upbringings, so we
Yeah.
knew what we didn't want our kids to experience, right?
Yeah.
And so with that, it was just kind of like, man, now we can focus together. We had no problem like focusing together on raising our kids the right way, or the way
Yeah.
that we agree
Yeah.
upon.
So do you guys feel like obviously because now you have to share your attention, because at
Mhm.
first it was about you and Tanya, or Andre and Tanya. Now you got to shift your attention toward something that you guys both created.
Right.
How did that affect your marriage? I guess I'm trying to find out, did it bring you guys closer in a sense, or did it put you guys in a space like, wow, now we have more people that we have to love and cherish and take care of?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I will say initially, no. I think initially, I think we were both just excited to
Nice.
have that experience together. But, just over time, you do begin to feel like, man, it's hard to find childcare. Like when we do
Right.
want to do things,
Yeah.
when we do want to, go out, or we do want to do something together, it does become, it is challenging.
Yeah.
It is very challenging, even if she just wants to go do something, but then I have something planned at the same time, then it's like, oh man, she want to go get her nails done and, or a facial. And then, but here I am, I already made plans. So now she's at home with the kids. And so, yeah, there are challenges with that for sure.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys another question. And this is individualized because when you guys both brought up spirituality and how God does things with marriages. So Tanya,
Mhm.
the Bible talks about how a woman is supposed to submit herself to their husband. And when I think a lot of women today, obviously you are a woman of God, but a lot of women today, when they hear the word submit, I think they misinterpret that word and take it out of content.
Yeah.
Tell me how that word submit really plays a part in your marriage with
Yeah.
Andre.
Yeah, I think for me, submit or submission always meant protection for me. And I've always tried to give, Andre that, allow him to give him that covering over me. And it's something that's it's easier said than done because for me, I mean, my mom was a single mom with 4 kids. So I never knew I always seen my mom be strong, her be the head of household, her make the decisions. So for me, I'm very strong willed too, because when I want to do something, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So kind of submitting as having protection and allowing, your husband to not control you, but to give him that respect of making decisions or, going along with it, even when you're like,
yeah,
ooh, I think that's, ultimately worked out for us because I do believe in, in our roles as, men and women, kind of traditional in that, and, try to, I don't know, just be a wife that was, biblical or in God's eyes. And it's a work in progress and still is,
yes,
but yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
I appreciate your honesty, and I'm gonna ask you guys these questions for a reason. Andre, how is it for you as she described the covering, the leader, of your daughters and your wife, because both of you guys' roles are very important, but God did make emphasis on us as men being, the leader of our household, of our family, obviously this talks about Christ being the head of the church and the husband is the head of the wife. So how is that role for you, being head of your household or your wife? How do you embrace that role?
Yeah, for me, I threw myself at it, I welcomed it, I take great pride in being able to do that. Because growing up, my mom was a single mother as well. I didn't have a father in my life like we had spoke about on a previous episode. And so, for me, I took great pride in that. But there was a lot of challenges, there was a lot of stripping, there was a lot of allowing the word of God to pull things out of me and add things to me. Even now, like Tanya said, even now it's a matter of learning from your mistakes, growing, just all throughout this entire process. I think I think initially because I was so new, it was so fresh, I didn't really know. I didn't feel much pressure to do it because I was more of like, wow, like, and we didn't have a lot, we didn't start out with a lot, now, we're homeowners. We both have really good jobs.
Nice.
3 beautiful kids. We're thriving, but before we didn't have much, so there wasn't a lot of pressure to do it. It was just like,
True.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, oh man, like, I want to be what I never had, right?
Yeah.
So it was cool, but as you over time, as you get older, you start to accumulate things as a family, and just different things. There is a bit of pressure that does come with that in the male role, because now there is this expectation. Everyone's looking to you as the head of the household to ultimately, okay, which way we going, brother?
Yeah,
what are we doing? Where are we headed? What's the goal? Where are we at? That kind of stuff. But you really just trying to lean on my faith as much as possible. easier said than done, in a lot of cases. But yeah, it's something that I fully embraced, but does come with its challenges for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Um, do you all feel that having a relationship with Christ individually and together, do you guys feel that that is the glue that holds you guys' marriage together, your faith in the Lord?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, especially just the beginning of it. It was like our foundation, the foundation of why we decided to get married.
Yeah,
It's the foundation truly of who we grew to be today, and yeah, I mean, again, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Lord, right?
yeah,
There was so much that he had done for us individually, just building our character, building us up, learning how to, because we both had to learn how to be a husband, learn how to be a wife. And and again, there are seasons where it does become veiled a little bit,
yeah,
and there's times where, again, but at the end of the day, we always know the foundation is Christ.
yes,
It has to
absolutely.
be. That was the beginning. I mean, that's the only reason why we are here. 10 years later, I mean, and just kind of on a little bit of a tangent, I mean, even in the church, there's been marriages that have been, that are newer than ours that didn't last long, you see it all across the world, and the fact that we come from two broken backgrounds and have a 10-year marriage, that's uncommon, especially for people our age.
Yeah,
And God is the one that gets the credit. I mean, we're putting we got our hands to the plow. We're
yeah,
landing right, but ultimately, absolutely.
yeah, yeah. There was an older woman who, because my background, Andrea, you know this, is a
Yeah,
lot like where you guys come from.
for
Didn't
sure.
wasn't close to my mom, dad wasn't there, just the whole 9 yards. But it was an older lady when I moved here to Sacramento who became like a spiritual mom to me, and she would share a little bit, with me about her background and her marriage, and she was a very, very, very strong woman in God. And, her husband at the time, he was Catholic and she was with the traditional Christian role. And so God really started dealing with her and, working the bad things out and really filling up with the Holy Spirit and stuff. And so her husband was moving at a much slower pace. And so there were times when, God would, according to her, God would tell her to go on a 7-day fast.
Mhm.
And so, she said, God would tell her, well, you still got to assume your wifely duties, cook for your kids, iron your husband's shirts or whatever. And she was saying that that was hard for her because she got the assignment from God to go on this fast, but yet and still she had to okay this with her husband. She said it was hard for her because God wasn't necessarily speaking to her husband about the fast. He was speaking to her. And she said the challenge was her husband was not always on board with it, you
Mhm.
know. And so she said God had to teach her how to submit to him, pray, 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 and pray. And so as she began to pray for her husband, the changes that needed to be done came through her prayer, but submission to God, which also led obedience to her husband. I thought that was really interesting. This woman said it took 25 years for
Wow.
her husband to give himself to the Lord. She said, Jesse, I had to pray for my husband for 25 years. During that 25 years, God was telling her to do certain things, but she had to get the okay from her husband. And what was happening was God was testing her, building her up in character as a wife. The things that like the shortcomings that she saw in her husband, she had to pray and fast about. Sometimes she was able to confront him on it, and sometimes she wasn't. And then when he got saved, the script kind of flipped. So
Yeah.
God had to teach both of them how to be a husband and wife individually through him. as they was growing together. I thought that was an amazing story, you know. And
Yeah.
so, and the reason I brought that up is because sometimes us as believers, I mean, nobody's perfect. Let's be real, nobody.
Right.
But
Right.
when
Right.
challenges, when the enemy throw challenges our way individually, ultimately his goal is to assassinate the covenant that God joined. Because you know, he said, well, God joined together and the man put asunder. So
Absolutely.
that's kind of like his assignment. So
Absolutely.
when problems come within a marriage, then we as the individual that's participant of that have to know how to go back to our first love, which is Christ, and
Absolutely.
pray that thing off. You know,
Mhm.
is
Absolutely.
that something that you guys do in your marriage?
Man, we actually experienced something like that about halfway through our marriage, something very similar to that. And it's funny now, you know, we spoke about this, matter of fact, a little bit ago. And it just, you know, communication is key.
Yes.
No matter how you're feeling, no matter, you know, you got to be willing to have those hard conversations. And so it came to a point, we got married, we're getting, you know, involved in ministry, stuff like that. And the ministry that we're involved in, Victory Outreach, is very assignment driven.
Yeah.
You're always busy, you
Yeah.
know. You got a Tuesday night youth service, you got a Wednesday night church service, you got a Thursday night Bible study, you got Monday night Bible college, you got 2 services on Sunday, you know. So it's a grind, you know, but that's what God used to kind of chip away at us. But making a long story short, moving, you know, from time of getting married up to having our first daughter, we were both very heavily involved in ministry and doing those things, right? But what I noticed that began to happen was, because my wife is so passionate about bearing a child, raising a child, that, you know, once our daughter came and I was continued to just like do ministry, right? Like
Yeah.
I was like, you know, what do you need for the baby? Okay, what we doing? I'm working, I'm providing, we got a house, roof over our head, we're good. But, you know, but then for her nurturing, you know, motherly nature, she started, her focus was like, okay, yeah, I'm still going to church, different things, but my focus is my daughter, right? My focus is trying to like the homestead. And this is why communication is key, because I didn't understand it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was so young, I was a young Christian, a new husband, all these different things. And it's really strange, but at that time I kind of started to become a little bitter towards my wife.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, like what's wrong? When we first got together, we were all in the
Yeah.
church, and now you're kind of back, like it looked like you're backing off.
yeah,
Yeah.
and, you know, and so then, and then this is why I say it's kind of similar to the story you share. I started to pray, right? Like I would talk to my pastor about it, and I'm like, you know, he'd just say, pray, you know, get us some anointing oil, anoint the doorpost, anoint, you know, the doorknob, everything your wife's gonna touch, anoint her pillow, you know, pray over her, everything like that, right? And I would do it, and I would do it, and I'd do it for a long time. And there wasn't, you know, much change.
Yeah.
You know, and again, communication is key, because we, even at that time, I think we both had kind of walls up a little bit, so we didn't communicate a lot effectively at that time, right? So as I'm leaving to, you know, do the second service, and instead of being home trying to do something at the house and help, she's a little upset with me, I'm upset with her, so it was pretty rocky.
Yeah.
But this is and, you know, I thank the Lord for this. But as much as I was praying for her, there came a day in prayer where God spoke to me, and he told me specifically, he said, you need to change. He told me, I'm praying for her, I'm praying God change her heart, move on her, right? God said, brother, you need to change. You need to change the way that you're engaging with your wife, because I became very
Militant.
Yeah.
Right? Very militant.
Well, not even militant, but rigid.
I was rigid.
You know.
I became very religious, and
religious,
like Pharisaic almost,
Yeah.
like Pharisee in my home. and I was like lording over her. You
Yeah.
know, I wasn't shepherding, you know,
Yes.
at that time. And so we almost split. You know,
Yeah.
it almost became like a man, or like not a divorce, but like we almost separated because it was like became almost irreconcilable, almost,
Yeah.
you know. But I thank God for that, because after that, I was able to go to her and I set the table for her, and I said, okay, let's have this conversation. You know, what's going on, boom, boom. And she was able to be vulnerable and be open and tell me what's going on, what she needed from me. And you know, God gets the glory for that, because I was so stubborn. I was so just purpose driven, and just my focus was over here, that I neglected her needs and stuff for that season. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty wild.
I'm so glad that that Andre, God dealt with you on it, because that was one of the things that I was kind of getting out of the conversation when you were saying that you was really driven to do the church stuff and your wife focused on the daughter, and you guys know this, God created us different, men and women different, and that's a reason why he talked about us as men being the head of the house. When we do get into marriage, women are a little bit more sensitive, emotional, passionate about certain things that we may not necessarily sense, in that situation and stuff. I think Tanya was really crying out for your support, and a lot of churches, people in church and church leaders, they fail to, in my opinion, because I've saw this before, they fail to give correct counsel when situations like that come about, because the truth of the matter is the marriage is actually the first ministry.
Yes.
It's not the church. It's not the four walls. You guys, that's the first ministry.
Yes.
And so things always have to be taken care of at home before you can branch out and do things for other people,
Right.
So if that makes sense. And I'll be honest with you guys, my first I first got saved and stuff, I didn't go straight to church. When I first got saved, it was like the Holy Spirit just downloaded the word in me. I was fasting, praying, and I didn't understand why this desire was so burning in me. He raised me up, then he put me in the four walls. Right. So when he put me in the four walls, I was equipped through him to be able to identify all the religion and the things that was not of him. And even though I was ready, I still had to submit myself to the pastor. I mean, the man of God was telling me, oh, you shouldn't be reading or praying without me and all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, no, but I still had to submit myself, because God was showing me things about him that needed prayer. You know what I'm saying? It was challenging, but I mean, just all type of stuff that was going on. So I'm saying all that to say, I'm glad that you too was able to overcome that. Andre, I'm gonna say this.
Talk to me.
Me and Andre had one strong I don't know if he told you about this disagreement at work when I first started as supervisor. And in all honesty, Tanya, it was kind of surprising, because I didn't really know him that well, but he really came off as, somebody that, he likes to joke. He's kind of the life of the party. And, and when we had that disagreement, I was shocked. I was like, oh. So what I did was I said, come on, let's take a walk, get out the office, because, we went back down. And we left out the office. We took a nice little walk. We talked about it. We hashed it out. We prayed, because I knew he was a man of God. I was a man of God. And my thought was, why is this contention? And I really felt like, Andre, that the enemy was trying to stop what we got now as brothers in Christ, But we had that conversation, Tanya. We hashed it out and didn't have no more issues since that day. I had, even though I was a supervisor, I still had to respect him and honor him as a man too. It wasn't just about my position or my title.
Yeah,
You
Right.
know,
yeah. We
no more
became
instances like
allies,
that.
man.
Huh?
We became allies.
Yeah. Oh,
That
yeah.
was really cool, man.
Very much so. I learned a lot from him at this job. Trust me.
Yeah.
I had a lot of enemies that
Yeah.
got exposed through him. So
Absolutely, man.
all right. So tell me, because we run out of time a bit. So from a female perspective, Tanya, tell me what are some things that you think a woman would need in a marriage from their husband, just from your perspective or
Yeah.
female's perspective.
Yeah. Um, that's a good question. Because I've been, lucky that with Dre
Yeah.
is I would say being able to what's most important to me is just having that place of I don't know if it would be letting your guard down or
Being vulnerable.
Vulnerability.
yeah,
Yeah.
communication is always, important, but, I guess being, having the same goals and working toward that together. Because I think sometimes what happens is people grow apart,
Yeah.
My pastor would always say people don't fall out of love, they fall out of commitment,
Mhm.
and your commitment is not the same.
Yeah.
So I don't know, communication, having the same goals is important.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been lucky to have someone like Dre who's family driven, loves kids, because sometimes men just that the kids aren't a big priority. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's important to me, and I have that. So I don't know how I would
That's
you know,
awesome.
ask for that in someone else, because
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Same question to you, Andre. From a man's perspective, what is important to you, or what do you think is important to men, married men, and just you particular from their spouse?
I think obviously communication. I think a woman that is confident enough in herself to trust her husband too. I
Yeah.
think trust is
That's
huge
good.
because
Yeah.
when you get to building a life together, it's not like when we were young and we could be on each other's hips all the time. It's like we're away from each other probably 9-10 hours out of the day,
Yeah.
most of the time, if not more. So trust,
That's good.
that's important. Because I will say this, like, I love this about our relationship. We ain't never really argue. We ain't never argue. We don't go on each other's phones. We don't
Mhm.
argue.
That's awesome.
We know each other's passcodes, and that just is rampant. That tears people up. But moving on, just a woman who is a nurturer. She is very nurturing, very loving and caring, and I think that's important because again, as a man, we do have a lot of pressure that we're under and stuff like that at times. And it's like we don't need someone that's like super hard,
Yeah.
hardened, because at that time, like, you need somebody that's willing to allow you to be vulnerable. And if they're being hard, that doesn't make you as a man want to be vulnerable.
That's
Like, well,
definitely true.
Yeah.
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 So someone that's willing to allow you to be vulnerable, that is nurturing. She's good with raising the kids, and it helps. It helps, that she can cook good too.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that's right. Well, I will say that we are running out of time. I will say that you guys are, in my opinion, a beautiful couple. Tanya, you are extremely attractive. My first time seeing you in person. No offense intended, Andre. I'm just
It's all
throwing it out
good.
there. And I'm so glad that, I'm able to hear you guys' story from both perspectives, and I'm also glad that, God is really allowing you guys to grow, because you guys are going to continue to grow. You're young, you're going to continue to grow. And I hope that you guys can become an example to other married couples to be able to overcome. Because as you guys know, nothing's easy, and nothing in this life is going to be easy at all. But as long as you guys remember that you guys are a team and you're in this together, you guys are going to be, overcomers for whatever Satan throw y'all way. Have it whichever way he try to come, however he try to do it. Just continue to pray and put your trust in the Lord, and remember that you guys are a team, and you guys are two. I mean, together.
Yes, sir.
So we have run out of time. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we end? Anything else you guys want to throw out there?
Appreciate you having us on together. And I guess what I will say, just one thing, parting words, is just friendship, communication, and trust. Those three things are very important in a marriage. I can say that those three things are probably the biggest things that kind of help outside of the Lord, obviously, but just those three practical things are most important in marriage, in my opinion.
All right. Well, thank the both of you for taking the time out and just kind of sharing a little bit about your marriage on our show. When we do finish this editing, when Max finishes editing, I'm gonna make sure you guys get a copy so you guys can kind of look back, and maybe you might want to share. Who knows?
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right.
That'd be great. That'll be great. Do you have any parting words?
No, thank you. Thank you for, having us on. Dre kind of asked me last
I did ask
minute,
her.
so I was like, okay, yeah.
Tanya, let me tell you, so I pray and ask God to touch your heart to say, because I really wanted to have both people on. Like I really did. And I knew it was at the last minute. So when he said you was going to do it, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
All right. So I got to do my little closing, and then Andre, we'll catch up soon. Okay.
Sounds good.
That's it for this edition of Mental Health Matters. If you enjoyed this particular show, if you'd like a copy of this show, or if you'd like to be a guest on our show, please dial 916-366-4600. Thank you.